Welcome to the podcast, Healthcare is Missing Link, a podcast where we help you uncover those things that are stealing from your best health. I'm your host, Dr. Mark Sherwood. Today's special edition, of course, as we do occasionally, is called Just Good News. This applies to our health in many ways because we're constantly inundated with the potential to have a lot of negative news out there, the drip of fear, the drip of anxiety, whatever the case may be. But we wanted to sort of give it a little bit of a boost in the right direction with giving you a little bit of good news. And today's good news comes from my home state, the state of Oklahoma, believe it or not. Interestingly enough, this particular both these stories come from our home state, and it's exciting to know that in this case, as I begin, if you can see this, you obviously can see where I'm coming from. This is going to be two great stories. One is a life-saving moment, and one is a charitable moment. Exciting stuff. The first one comes to us from Sapulpa, Oklahoma, where Dylan Wick, Seth Bird, Nick Bird, and Wyatt Hull, all between the ages of 14 and 17, were at Hull's home in Sapulpa when they first noticed the smell of burning rubber. Then they saw flames coming from the house of their elderly neighbor. Her name is Catherine Ritchie. So Ritchie, who happens to be 90 years old, she was getting ready to go to bed when the fire in her home began. Now, she tried to escape her room, but the smoke was so thick that she couldn't find her way out. So obviously, this was a life and death situation for Miss Ritchie. The two teens, seeing what was going on, two of the four, they actually broke into the house while the other two called 911 and alerted the other neighbors. So Dylan Wick shared that Ritchie made it to the hallway when Nick Bird picked her up off the floor. And together, Dylan and Nick, with their brother Seth, they rushed her to safely. Ritchie, along with all of the four teens, escaped without any injuries. So clearly we have a dire situation where teens stepped up and did the unthinkable. They actually saved someone's life. And if you can see this podcast, you're actually seeing a picture of this we'll call her a young woman at 90 and these four teens who saved her life. But if you can't see the podcast, it's still a wonderful picture. She's smiling ear to ear with these four teenage boys, two on each side of them with big smiles as well. Obviously, they didn't really understand the significance of what they had done, I don't believe, because Governor Stitt, who's the governor of Oklahoma, honored the teens at a ceremony, giving them special citations for their bravery. And of course, Catherine Ritchie and the community members were also at this ceremony. So Ritchie, you want to know what she says. She's grateful to everyone involved. Of course, she's thankful for the teens and the firefighters and who all saved her life. What a wonderful story. And you really understand this, when you talk about people commenting on this, a Chamber of Commerce person, I don't even know they realize the impact they have on lives, not only is Miss Ritchie's, but also for her children and just how grateful everyone is. And that was from Susan Sheary of the Chamber of Commerce. And I think another comment from another resident of Sapulpa, Oklahoma, I think we should be very proud of these young people for like that. They put themselves at risk to do something like that. And that was from William Van Meter, a longtime resident. The interesting thing about this and the application for all of us is these four teens, they were paying attention. They were paying attention to their surrounding. They could have, look at the options of this. They could have just called 911. They could have. They could have ignored it and continued playing video games. I'm being funny with that one. Or they could have taken action. Too many times people sit back and don't take action. They don't want to get involved. These teens obviously put their life on the lines because they got involved. Maybe that's a message for all of us. Maybe we should be getting involved more with things we see at need, not just in emergencies, but in things that are happening over and over again that are right in our own backyard. And that sets us up perfectly for our next story, which is really about a charitable project done by some people in Marlow, Oklahoma. So this is Marlow's Dairy and Produce Drive. They created a drive-through, get this, where they give out roughly 1,200 boxes of produce and dairy from Oklahoma farmers and ranchers to those in need in the city or the town of Marlow. This free produce, of course, and dairy was a giveaway, was open to anyone in Marlow and the surrounding community. So it wasn't just for Marlow, it was for anyone that needed it. The neat thing about this program, of course, is according to those that witness this, it pairs the local farmers and the growers in Oklahoma with programs. And this is the main person that did this. Her name is Rose Massey, and she got it started and gives people the opportunity to receive food, but also helps the farmers and local growers have some kind of income coming in. And this is a big deal because many times we're not supporting the local farmers like we should. Some of these perhaps these farmers markets that show up, they used to be a thing, but since at the time of this recording, we're still in the middle of this I use the air quotes, pandemic, that people are not seeing those kind of gatherings anymore. So we need to find local farmers and actually support them. It's important. So again, with school starting back up, as the quote goes on, with COVID-19, everything was going on. Unemployment was certainly increased, and this made a huge impact on all of these communities. And so this person, Rose Massey, decided to do something about it. And I think that's just amazing. And the application here is pretty simple. When you look at this, when you see a need step up, a lot of times, again, like our previous story with the 14th, we might say things like it's none of my business, or that's somebody else's job, or that's the first responder's job, or that's the community food bank's job. We need to be willing to step up and do what's tasked of us and what the opportunities are. This time in our history, like no other, there are opportunities all around us. These opportunities, they help us. When you can, here's a truth that I want you to keep in mind. When you actually encourage someone else with your gifts, you actually bring courage and empower your own self. So everybody has gifts. What is your gift? Is your gift something where you can give away? Is your gift something where you have a benevolent gift where you like to give away charitable things? Is your gift doing something of action? Is your gift verbally where you can tell someone how much you love them? Is your gift some way where you can actually go help someone in some time of need? We all have gifts, and if we would put our gifts together, we could all improve not just the health of the world, but perhaps we could improve the health of ourselves. I think these 4 teens that saved Catherine's life, I think they'll never forget this. They'll look back on this 30, 40, 50 years from now, and they may not understand the impact, but what they've impacted is not just her life, not just the life the person saved, but the generations that come. There was a life preserved because someone stepped up. And that's the same thing with the produce giveaway in Marlow, Oklahoma. When you can save someone else, you're not just saving them, you're actually changing a generation. So when we talk about this whole concept of healthcare, the way it's done inappropriately, we're not saving anybody. But when we talk about the healthcare the way, as you know, Dr. Michelle and I view it, we're talking about stopping generational issues, generations of poverty, generations of self-doubt, generations of not having enough, and these generational curses, if you will, they will go on and on and on unless people step up. So remember, evil wins when good people do nothing, and we got to step up and step out. I was talking about this in the previous video we were doing for a project that Dr. Michelle and I are on. We need to stand out like the stars on a darkened night in the country. I'm going to say that one more time. We need to stand out and be willing to step out and step up and speak up to shine brightly like stars in the middle of a darkened night in the country. If you've ever been out there, I want you to visualize that right now because it's important. There's a lot of darkness, a lot of black, but the stars shine brighter in the midst of the darkness, and the whole sky is full of stars. You, my friend, can be a star. You, my friend, can be one of those things that stick out. And I encourage you to take these feel-good stories, let them motivate you, and find somebody else to help. Do that and do it now. Look for opportunities. Opportunities like this will not only help somebody else's, perhaps their health, of course, but it will also, I guarantee you this, it will also assist and improve your own health. Remember, health is not just about physical health. It's also spiritual and emotional as well. So we need to take the spiritual, emotional, and physical and draw those back together again and do something good for the world. I hope you've enjoyed the podcast today. And remember, it's important after all of these episodes to subscribe. You'll see that right below on the button. And we want to be able to tell you what's coming up next. We have all kinds of great guests coming up in all these podcasts, as well as more good news segments like this. I think you'll really enjoy this. So remember, as we always say, don't let those hidden things in the world bog you down that are stealing friends from your best health. I'm Dr. Mark Sherwood, and we'll see you next time on Healthcare's Missing Link.